we're going to be going into Shang-Chi. I'm sorry about that. Almost mispronounced it.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi.
And I'm going to let Nick take
Shang.
it.
S-H-A-N-G. Shang.
Because this is been one of his most anticipated movies of the year, and this is
Yeah,
kind of
I think when we did our most anticipated, by number 5 or 4.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let you take it, man. Let's introduce the movie to us, man.
So, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, newest film studios. Creighton, whose previous works include Short Term 12 and Just Mercy. Really wonderful director, and given the reins to Marvel's first Asian-led superhero film, starring Simu Liu of Kim's Convenience fame. He's a former stunt performer that has gotten a lot of work on television. I think his biggest break was Kim's Convenience, which is a hilarious show on Netflix. And this stars Simu as Shang-Chi, the son of the great dictator Wen Wu, who is the holder of the Ten Rings, who is a thing that we've heard about from back in Iron Man 1. We've only heard about this terrorist organization and never really seen it until Iron Man 3, where we got Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, which they address in the movie. If you're concerned, they address that, and I think one of the best ways. It's fucking white people.
Yeah. Oh man.
But one of the biggest things about this movie is this is the action, because this is Shang-Chi, it's the greatest martial artist in the MCU. This is coordinated by the late Brad Allen, who is the first Western person who was in the Jackie Chan fight team.
Oh, nice.
Which is where a lot of the fight sequences get there. And for me, this is probably some of the best action that has been in a Marvel movie. Everything is clear. It's shot from far enough away. Unlike something like Mortal Kombat, Snake Eyes, you can see everything going on. And you can tell there's so much love and care built into establishing these fight sequences.
Yeah. Very much so. Because that was kind of one of the things that impressed me watching it the first half. Because watching, I'm like, wow, this is a really good martial arts movie during the first half. Because I was kind of worried when they said they were doing it, as we've seen what they've done in past things like Iron Fist with the martial arts stuff, how they kind of really dropped the ball.
No. Simu Liu actually spent more than 5 minutes in the dojo.
Yeah. So this is, it's very, very impressive. Like, you see the scene in the trailer, the bus scene, you see it in pretty much all the trailers. That's kind of the one big
action. The bus scene, it goes on way longer in the trailer, and it's probably one of the best action sequences in a Western production. I'll give it that caveat I've ever seen.
Now, Nick, let me know if you agree with me or not. I feel like the trailer did not sell the movie. I feel like the trailer did not really, because it was cooler in the scenes than what the trailer made it seem like. Because Marvel, again, the word formula is going to pop up a lot in this conversation, because I feel like they have gotten very cookie cutter with their trailers. Marvel knows their very standard way to look.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that Marvel, as far as the trailers go, a lot of them are very cookie cutter, but they've sold a movie with a talking tree and a talking raccoon. They can pretty much just throw the logo Marvel Studios, and it's going to get butts and seats.
Right.
Yeah, and exactly. Because people say that, and I understand exactly what that is, because when Guardians came,
honestly, I was more excited about this watching a lot of the little EPK trailers where you have interviews with the cast and talking about the cultural aspects behind this movie. I was more excited watching those than I was either of the trailers, and I still like both trailers.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the how it's shot is definitely, I think that's the biggest difference in a lot of the other Marvel movies. It feels fast paced without having to try to be fast paced, and I think I like that. I like that. Let it be fast paced. Let's get to the shit. Let's get to the shit. And I'm not saying they were getting to the shit super early, but as far as just the, like you say, the bus scene. I mean, that scene. Him and his
first
father,
15 minutes.
him his father, to be honest.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to go back into the conversation of fight scenes again, but him and his father. And I think that it was just, I think a lot of I wouldn't say it was much more of like emotion. I think they tried to like look out for that a little bit, but
Yeah.
it was just more so like you can see the skill in both of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and I think the strength of it is in some of the later fight scenes between Shang-Chi and Tony Leung, who is probably one of the greatest actors to come out of Hong Kong ever. There's so much emotion in a fight scene, and that's what separates some of these versus anything that's been in some of the other Western martial arts movies that have come out this year. Stuff that's what separates it from stuff like Mortal Kombat or from Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
It's emotion in the context of the scene.
Yeah.
Right.
And he really impressed me in the movie, Tony Leon. He really, really did. It's because it's almost like his movie along with Shang-Chi's movie.
Yes, the first act of this movie, it's almost a story of Wenwu.
Yeah.
It's basically his origin story.
Yeah. And, him meeting his mother, Shang-Chi's mother, would be his wife, and how they kind of, fell in love through martial arts and, through combat.
And in an amazing fight scene that I think, I'm trying to remember the critic that said this, but the beats between a fight scene and a love scene, when it's done well, the lines between the two are very blurry.
Yeah.
Because he knew he had no game. That's how he said it. They doing too much dancing. They making me hot. That's what I thought.
I mean,
I remember seeing this with and she like leans over and whispers to me while that fight scene's going on. And it's like, they gonna fuck. It's like.
So Nick, let me ask you this, man, because like I'm very at this. I just saw it last night on IMAX, and I'm very passionate about the movie because I'm ready to deep dive and not nitpick everything, but I'm ready to like get right into the movie. So I want to know, like, structure wise for the podcast, where do you want to start first? You want to start from scene, like plot to plot to plot, or you're gonna go from character to character and then move on to fight scenes and move on to what, like, how you want to go about going through this?
I think with us, we like talk about what we liked, what we disliked, and give our rating before we like dive deep into spoilers. Because the movie just came out wide release today, your time.
Yeah.
So get anybody who hasn't had a chance to see it or who doesn't give a shit about spoilers a chance to like mute the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me be as vague as I can with like my, I guess, kind of feeling about the movie. I do feel like for Marvel, for the last decade, they have been doing since phase 2, phase 3, now in phase 4, they have been doing their standard movie, like a standard meal dish with a different flavor. Now, this is the Kung Fu movie flavor. The first time we actually had it's not standard Marvel fighting. It's not super dramatic choreographed in the way that that Black Widow was, or that Loki is, or anything like that. It's not Russo brothers.
It's not the Russo brothers. It's not the Russo brothers calling Chad Stahelski second.
Exactly, but like you said, it's very Jackie Chan like. It's not exactly furniture food, but it's definitely like hardcore, a lot of movement. You know what I mean? Fights like that. So
it's a lot more kinetic than you see in standard Marvel films.
Yeah,
exactly. It's not, and it's not stylized to the point where it's exaggerated, like the posing and things like that. Now it's martial arts to the T, like you said, Western martial arts. But so that's what I really dug about it. I think the bus scene definitely stand out, got you in the movie. That's when you know the movie is really getting going. Like it was great, even though the villain with the blade, sword for arm, that was straight up,
Razor Fist. That was straight up. Standard
Marvel villain. Technology trying to fight me. This and that. His friend Aquafina did bother me. She pull it back not 2 notches, a notch. I do understand where people like her inflections and voice and personality can kind of throw it off a little bit. I understand that she's more of a Western Asian American with her own kind of humor to it. I'd say 60% of her jokes stuck for me because a lot of it was out of place. Because I know towards it wasn't until the later half of the movie it was okay.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think that's kind of like the point of that character because a big thing that they don't tell you in the trailer, like most of the dialogue between Asian characters is spoken in Mandarin.
Right.
Which I was pleasantly surprised to see because you almost never get a primarily Asian cast in a Hollywood movie and you let them speak their native language. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And they make a big point of showing that Awkwafina's character, they make a point that she doesn't speak the language. Yeah. And that's just, and if you're growing up Asian American, that's just like another thing that is that makes you feel like an outsider.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, Elijah, you bring up a good point bringing up Awkwafina, because somebody mentioned in the chat, what do we think about the whole
Awkwafina? Yeah, somebody mentioned the controversy and the potential fan boycott. Honestly, I think since something like The Farewell, I think she's more or less dropped the whole like black scent thing.
Yeah.
Because even in interviews now, she's almost never really used it.
Yeah. And so the whole thing with Awkwafina, because people don't know, so because this movie, I mean, because people have talked about Awkwafina's black scent before and that kind of whole controversy. I mean, it's been it's came up before, so I don't know why people are saying like it's just coming up because of this movie and people want it to fail. I mean, people have mentioned it way before, plenty of times. But Awkwafina just in this movie, which we did talk about the controversy and everything like that on the past show last week. We did mention that. And we went into depth about talking about that. But with Awkwafina in this movie, first of all, I did like her. I thought she did a good job. I do like her and
I think the chemistry between her and Simu Liu. I love that you never see a friendship like this just strictly be platonic. Yeah, like even with the past Marvel movies, there's always been like this forced romance. I'd say, like even in something like Doctor Strange, which we'll get to when we talk about What If. I thought that was a little shoehorned in, and I like that it's never more than what it is.
Yeah. Chill. Yeah, chill. Let me get you on there.
Yeah, I was letting y'all go. I love it, man. I wanted to let y'all go to just because I'm finna come from a way different perspective from the Fina thing. So I'm a person that only seen what was that movie said? Farewell, right?
The Farewell.
Yeah.
I've seen that movie, right? I've seen that movie. I ain't none of the Aquafina movies, right? And watching what's the name? I don't think she was even using that voice at all, bro. I think and I didn't even catch it. Like I don't know, man. I can kind of tell like when motherfucker kind of forcing it, and you just can't like. I feel like some Asians. I don't want to say it like that, but I feel like a lot of Asians like they can't help their voice. Like look at bro from fucking Romeo Must Die. That motherfucker.
Dante Basco.
Yeah,
Dante Basco, who a lot of you know as the voice of Zuko on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So why don't they get him for what they call white casting or whatever? He trying to do a white voice. Like I think she just whatever she do, she probably smoke heavy weed, smoke squares or something. Her voice just like that. She sounds like not only just a Western Asian chick, but they sound like an Asian person that's in the west of San Francisco, the Bay Area, shit like that. Like that's just fair. How they are. Like that's
it never felt forced. It felt natural.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we gotta put.
It felt natural, and that's the biggest thing. It reminded me a lot of I remember this movie Blind Spotting and talking about Rafael Casal's character because he is very much that dude who grew up in the hood and kind of has like hints of a black scent, but it's natural for that character.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying like I'm putting respect to the area because San Francisco, that's a big area.
With that context, I'm a little bit more lenient on her thinking back to it now.
Yeah.
I just feel like out of me, I didn't hear any fucking yo's or just forceful stuff. Like I don't know. You can catch forceful stuff. and I didn't think none of that. So I just wanted to speak on that. I didn't think none of that.
Yeah. I mean, there
I will
was.
say that I felt like a little bit like sometimes awkward scenes with her because the camera would solely zoom in on her for a reaction. Like she was a reactionary character. I guess she was our avatar as an audience member,
Yeah.
but I felt like she was a little bit pushing the borderline of too much, and not saying cartoony, but because you think about it, like how many Marvel heroes had their like there's a straight person who's our main character, and there's the jokey person. So like for example, in Ant-Man, you had the Hispanic guy, right?
Yeah, Michael Pena. Yeah.
Exactly. And Michael Pena, I felt like those two characters are very similar. Same thing with Ned from Spider-Man. Like and of course, I'm not really representing their nationality, their ethnicity so much in the show. But Michael Pena, for example, his jokes, his reactions, and how he kind of dealt with the supernatural magic superhero stuff in his own movies felt better to me than what Aquafina did. So that's why I wasn't like, I'm not enjoying her on screen anytime she popped up outside of the later half where when she did it, like when you're around like the magical dimension and all this crazy fighting is going on, like her reactions are legitimate because like she's afraid for her life in this battle. At the same time though, her personality is humorous. At the beginning half, when eventually we get to, big fight arena in the first third of the movie, a lot of, a little bit too much with the drinking and the partying and the traveling and the way that she became friends with his sister. I was kind of like, that just happened on a snap, like on a dime. Like, oh, I like your pants. I'm like,
world, bro. But can I combat that real quick?
This is also a world where people are kind of in the know because they mentioned stuff like the blip very early on in the movie.
And then to say this, what you said, Elijah, too, real quick. Yeah, the beginning she was partying and shit like that. This shit was kind of new. Yeah, towards the end, I think that she really wanted to save her friend. They were so into each other as friends. They knew that at the end of the day, they only had each other.
Yeah.
I think there's a theme in this movie about living up to like a lot of people would say family expectations, but I would say more like living up to your potential because they establish early in the movie that they're kind of slackers, which is a very common thing with people I know in the Asian community. It is like you all know that stereotype about Asian parents is like, why are you not doctor yet?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's something that's very, obviously, relatable, obviously, for a lot of people who are still living at home with their parents and are in their 20s and trying to figure out life, having a quarter life crisis. It's like, what the hell am I going to do? And you know what I mean? What's my future going to be like and everything like that? And people my age are hugely successful. But, I mean, them in the movie, they're not very depressed about their situation, even though they're valets. I mean, they're very happy.
They're just cool with life.
Yeah,
his is more trauma that he chooses to put to the side.
His is trauma that he's running away from her. It's fear of failure. Fear of success a little bit.
Yeah,
and for me as a 20-something, I'm like, okay, that's like the best plot character development you could have gave her. Like that, at that point, I'm like, this is the main thing I care about this character. Like I relate to that on a hardcore level. From like, okay, if there's any golden nugget to her. That's it for me right there.
Yeah.
The big thing, the big word of the movie too, low key, is motivation. A lot of things motivated her. She seeing them in trouble, seeing Shang in trouble and shit, that motivated her to at least try.
Yeah.
Try, girl. And that's her problem. She never tried.
Right.
Josh, let me ask you about like a couple more characters, right? How do you feel about Shang-Chi's sister, and how do you feel about his dad? Oh, I guess sister first, and we'll get into the dad next.
Okay, so the sister in this movie, Nick, who's the sister played by again? If you can.
Oh, the sister. The sister is a character played by Menger Zhang. I think is how you pronounce her name. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments.
So her, I thought. It's funny you bring up Ant-Man. I don't know if it's because she had the same hairstyle or what.
She was. There were a lot of hints of like Hope Van Dyne in that movie.
Yeah, she very reminded me much a lot like Hope Van Dyne. Very a person very stern, very serious, kind of as much much what she had going on, and she was angry at her brother. So there wasn't.
But with her, I felt it was angry for a legitimate.
Yes.
Abandonment.
Yeah. For she has got some abandonment issues. I mean, rightfully so. But that's kind of vibe I was gonna get it off. I think she, in more movies, she's gonna explore. They're gonna do more with her, hopefully, and I think she's a good character to explore more later on and become more fleshed out. As of this movie right here, I felt she's this kind of typical, kind of very stern, serious, kind of badass type woman. But I think as more movies go on, and I do like her relationship with Awkwafina in the movie, how they kind of both open up to each other, and she had the whole thing going for her. It's like, well, I was a woman in a very male dominated field because of martial arts, and the boys didn't let me do it, so I learned on my own. So she had kind of was like her whole big thing. I was like, okay, well, I've seen a lot of that before, and kind of that whole storyline. But I think hopefully he'll do more with her. But I thought she was just okay. Tony Leung as Wenyu.
Tony Leung as Wenwu. He brings a depth to a character that I felt for a long time the Mandarin was basically an Asian stereotype, and Marvel they've not shied away from that. And in like the past couple of years, they've kind of like revamped that character, given him a lot more depth, made that character really cool. And Lung, he brings so much depth to it that it's very hard to in certain scenes it's very hard to call him a straight up villain.
Yeah. He's one of the best kind of villains. Yeah. The villain that you can understand is reasonable.
Well, okay. I will meet you halfway on that, because I feel like was this actor, like, I couldn't have thought of a better actor for this role, because he is the he is the scariest dad. Like, that is the when that vein pops in his head and he stares at you and he puts it in his jaw.
If you've ever been over at a friend's house for dinner, dad.
Oh yeah, that's the scary. Like, anytime it dealt with the friend and the brother and sister dynamic with the family, I'm like, okay, this guy is intimidating on a dad stern standpoint, knowing that he's a bad person. His motivation for being a villain, it was acceptable for me to a point until the end, because until they mention like, oh, he's hearing these things, I was like, you lost me. That's because not only is the main motivation of most Marvel movies family, every villain, not every villain, but every person with a backstory who is hurt, who has death, it starts with such and such person died. I am missing such and such person. I had this past person change me, good life, lost them negatively due to my past or due to a thing. Now I am backtracking on who I am, and I have to put a 180 of the progress I made, right? And so for me, I'm like, okay, that's standard. I accept that. But it wasn't
it's standard Marvel movie, but sorry to interject.
No, go ahead.
I do think it's very standard, but I think Tony Leung, he just brings so much screen presence and so much depth to that I think it elevates it above standard.
Yeah.
Right. But he's too smart as a person, though. He's too smart as a character, because the moment they say like the minute you find out the truth of why he's thinking and his motivation is for what it is, it's like, you've proven for him to be super intimidating, smart, been alive for a very long time, but because he's so blinded by love, that he doesn't hear the reason to a point, which is why I can't compare.
There was something else going on. The rings
does that to people, man.
Well, they also hint that the rings also had like an effect too. That it was also like like kind of like with the ring from The Hobbit, you know what I mean, or Lord of the Rings. It kind of had like a mental effect on it.
He was how old was he? Like damn near hundreds of years.
Yeah, thousands of years old.
Yeah,
and check it out. You got to think about it too. And I'm playing like benefit of the doubt, but before that, his whole thing of he was greed for power. This one entity stopped him and changed his life, and he lost that, and he put that on his children. Feel me? Like he put that on his children. That's grief. That's why I feel like the last fight scene was it was deep.
Yeah.
And so like I think a lot of that his motivation, yeah, we can take from it. Okay, they switched it over and gave him somebody to cry about because they died, but we never seen a villain. We never seen a villain with somebody that was already being a villain stop in his tracks and lose something and fight for grief.
Yeah, we almost never see well, we don't see it done as well, I think, the villain who was that for 1,000 years, but then they try to like walk the right path, but the past doesn't let go.
Yeah.
This short force of nature stopped him in his path, G. Like he was looking, like you said, you had to go through that same force at the right time, right? He went through that forest. He studied that, and he went through that forest. But this force stopped him. This woman stopped him, motivated him to stop. Motivation again,
right?
To stop doing that, and it like that shit fucks you up. You've been living for 100 years. You don't think you're gonna have 100 years of grief? You know what living with 100 years of grief. We only live with 30 or 10.
Yeah.
Chill is taking us to Marvel. I mean, Chill is taking us to Marvel Church right now. I mean, he's taking us to MCU Church. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. He's dropping some real shit.
Now, so Nick, are you ready to geek out on me? Because I want to stay with the topic of Wenwu, right?
Yeah,
are you ready
let's do it.
to geek out with me? Okay. So with this character, how do you feel about the usage? Because every single Marvel movie they have to interpret. Things in the comics are way too powerful, or they're way too abstract or similar. And I know in the comics, the 10 rings, they are on the minimal level of Infinity Stones for the control reality, time, space, things like that. How do you feel about the interpretation of what the rings can do?
Well, even with this movie, we still don't 100% know what they can do. We get the 10 rings. They're basically like just like magnet weapons almost.
Yes.
Which I didn't have a problem with. I think what their purpose is going to get explored more the more we see Shang-Chi. And especially given the way the film ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely physical attributes. That's it.
Yeah, we don't know if it's like alien tech. We don't know if it's magic. We don't know if it's like other dimensions.
Yeah.
Do you feel like do you like the usage of how the 10 rings, their ability so far were shown on display, and then going from bracelets to not actual rings?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that because we've already gotten something like the Infinity Stones, which is just a bunch of rocks. And I think having them just like be bracelets that you can just like whip around, it opens the door for like a lot of cool effects that you can see.
Yeah. I thought the use of the rings are pretty nice and pretty cool. Different from the comics, because in the comics it's actual rings that you wear kind of on your fingers, things like that. So they kind of have these bracelets in a way, and the way he used
especially in the context of a martial and implementing them into you have a lot more. You have a lot more opportunity for cool stuff when you have it like using them literally as a weapon.
Yeah.
Right. So for people who have not seen the movie, there's a couple of abilities that the rings can do. There's times when Wenwu gets shot at. If he'd be shot at near the bracelets, they work like shields. Okay, so they're very Wonder Woman-esque, and they kind of take aesthetic from other characters. So when they shoot projectiles, the one ring will shoot out. It's more like an Iron Man repulsor. When he punches, he's super strong, but only because a ring will help propel that force a whole lot more. I think the coolest shit in the world is like he can use the rings like an electromagnetic, like you said. That's the best analogy for it, like an electromagnetic whip. And like the way he jumps, like for him, he's doing like some shocker level, propulsion to jump around and move around and things like that. I'm like, okay,
that's pretty
what
cool.
He's doing with it and how cool they get with it. And if you like, okay, for me, when Shang-Chi deals with the rings, I'm like, this is the most Sonic the Hedgehog fucking ring.
It is, but you can't. I'm not gonna lie. When that scene happens, I was geeked in my chair. I was like, yeah.
I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I was like, it doesn't look good.
Like Sonic can't handle these rings, man. The rings are so good.
Yeah.
Because like there's so I've never seen a weapon in Marvel so far that's so versatile and what it can do. Like even Doctor Strange weapons we've seen so far, like even with the Wand of Tomb or the Eye of Agamotto, Hela's helmet, or the Chaos Blade she has. Like these rings have so much ability to do different things. And so, from what we saw at the movie or what they possibly could be, I'm hoping Shang-Chi gets more powerful, because at this point, I would put him to scale. I'll put him on like above Captain America level, but not so much where he can like fight somebody like Iron Man. You know what I mean?
I'd put him on a little bit above like Hawkeye.
Really?
Or like Sam Wilson.
Oh, you put
I would say he can beat Sam. I can see Captain America, Sam Wilson. I still think he can beat him. I still think Shang-Chi can beat Sam.
Yeah.
And we gonna keep that in mind, Nick, because we gonna have to discuss that with you said. You know it right now.
Yeah. So
argument for that one. Take it to church though.
Yeah. So I mean, Elijah brings up, a good point, mentioning the rings and how they use them in the movie, which is very cool. And the way Wenwu uses them is also very effective. I mean, the scene where he goes to take his son to deal with some business in the movie is very effective.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best like scenes of rage in a Marvel movie, especially the way it's shot, because it's almost like from just like a mirror in the wall that you don't even realize it.
I thought that was really.
It was literally the scene. It's literally like when your friends tell you, or like when you see, like when you bully a kid in school, or like you get bullied in school and the kid takes his dad along, like and dad's like,
my dad can beat up your dad.
Yeah.
No, like dad's like, so who did it? So he's like, I'm over there. He's like, all right, stay here. I'll be right back.
I bet.
no words. Like not a single word. He just walks up.
Yeah.
Start beating everybody.
I'll tell you, you know what? Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
So I just want to say, just get into some things we didn't like about it, and then we're going to get into final thoughts, and then we're going to get into spoilers, and then ratings. Kind of what we didn't like about it, then kind of ratings, and then we're going to go into spoiler talk after that. So chill, go ahead.
Oh, hey, shout out to Chat Attack too in the chat, man.
Hey, what's up, Chat Attack?
Chat Attack, what's good? Oh, shit. Oh, so yeah. What I didn't like about it, man. What I didn't like about it. Let's see. You know what? Overall, not overall, but I guess, yeah, like the jokes. The jokes, those standard way of how Marvel does their jokes, and they do those slight pauses for their jokes for you to laugh. I just wasn't feeling kind of that shit, and only you can tell like they was doing it, and then it kind of really hit and flowed towards the end, because it was a couple jokes at the end were a little bit better. So that kind of like got me off a raw set. Like, man, I want to hear all these goddamn jokes. As far as like another thing, I just still don't get the whole why the fuck make him a slacker, because it felt like he was just a clout chaser. Bro had a apartment, you know what I'm saying? So it was like I just didn't understand that from the way that he grew up. It didn't feel that way. Like,
honestly, the most unrealistic thing is that That's the most unrealistic thing.
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out there.
Yeah, you cut out.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Oh,
Nick?
sorry.
You cut out.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, let's be honest. The most unrealistic thing in this movie, two valets can afford to live in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Facts,
yeah, that is very. I don't know. Maybe they give good customer service. I don't know.
But as far as like another thing that I kind of didn't like is they made it obvious that they was trying to self-serve too many stories. Or matter of fact, it made it obvious that they were giving too much to certain stories and not giving enough to certain people. It's like, why the fuck you even got them in there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
this is
okay.
So, yeah, this is the first Marvel movie that take place after
Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, no, after Spider-Man After Spider-Man,
after
future-wise,
Far
future-wise.
From Home.
Yeah.
And besides that, I mean, I do praise, I guess, the action getting into the shit, but overall, I just don't praise that the story was well rounded enough for me.
Mm.
You know, I feel like it was just a amalgamation in the story. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the story kind of pissed me off because it was just it was the mysticism of fucking Doctor Strange. It was the fighting of fucking the Russo brothers and all that shit. You know, just the you know just the you know the magneticness and shit like that. So it just didn't round it out for me in the story wise. It's just like a lot of things that I just didn't get. That I hate that stop like Marvel is starting to do this little shit where they're really finger feeding us shit. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of like fuck, how the fuck, you know, and I'm sorry for cursing like this, but it gets to a point where I do want to enjoy these movies, but at that point, and this is not overall what I think about the movie, but at overall, when the story finger feeds us like this shit, it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, okay, now I gotta fucking like my anxiety gets high. I gotta anticipate another movie, man. I gotta anticipate what's gonna be in this movie so I can see what's in this. It. But other than that, side note, one thing that I did forget about what I liked, I need to see the Wong side story of his fucking Street Fighter career. That's all I need.
Yes. Yes. No, every single Marvel movie needs Benny Wong to come.
Yeah.
I fuck with Wong. I fuck with Wong.
So with me, I'd say a lot of my critiques, I'd say I'd have very similar ones. I have something like Doctor Strange. I think the movie, it deals with so many like big concepts, and I think the movie's just a little bit too fast paced, which is a good thing and a bad thing because it introduces so many great characters that I want to spend more time with. Especially, I want to spend more time with Tony Leung's character. I always want to see more Michelle Yeoh in this.
Yeah.
I do think there is a character introduction that, while I enjoyed it, it gave a little more context to previous stuff in the MCU. But I think if it's gone, it doesn't really it doesn't really take away anything in the movie. I don't agree with the whole like stopping for jokes because they felt organic.
Okay.
But honestly, this is probably this is up there with my favorite Marvel movies. I just had such a fun time, and it was so cool, seeing like a $200 million Marvel movie with people that look like me.
Okay.
It's just so fun to see, and I have like my nieces, my nephews, they can see someone that looks like them.
Okay.
That's so awesome to hear, though, man, because I really do, even though people joke about it, like, I really do feel like this is the Asian America Black Panther. And I'm glad that Marvel can represent another demographic this kind of way on a big scale with a mostly Asian cast.
And it's done with as much faith in
it. You cut out there again, Nick. You cut out there.
Not only that, but that this kind of representation, it's done with as much love and care and respect as it is in this.
Yeah, that's a key word, though. The movie, nothing, even though it was Marvel-isms in the entire movie, it was nothing but respect. Like, I did not, the beautiful thing is that I did not feel a single, outside of Aquafina, I didn't feel a single cringe moment in the entire film. I didn't feel like it was very ham-fisted. I didn't feel like it was very stereotypical. And I feel like, I don't know between you and your girlfriend, but do you feel like anything was kind of too stereotypical or too offensive at all?
Well, she felt like the movie ripping off a lot of Chinese cinema, which I just said that's the point. It's paying tribute to movies like that. It's paying tribute to stuff like House of Flying Daggers, to stuff like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah. It's paying loving tribute to Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Jackie Chan.
All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna move into things I didn't like, and then maybe I'll just wrap up my final thoughts and give a rating there, and then I'll hand it over to Elijah to do the same thing. So with me here, also a shout out to Jevin Good. Thank you for the 20 bits, man. Really appreciate it there.
So cute.
Also, yeah, with the chat attack, that's the pre-show that the DT has before on Twitch. Before they start streaming, they'll usually do a pre-show with chat attack. So they get the nice people warmed up, do a nice stream there, and then they hand them over to DT for their Twitch. So yeah, shout out to them, the crew over there. But so my things I didn't like about it, like I said, I liked about the first half of it that it's a really good martial arts movie. I enjoyed the performances of it. I enjoy the platonic friendship between Aquafina and between Simu and Liu. I mean, you rarely kind of see that of just men and women just kind of just being good friends like that. I think you need more of that in cinema, and just more of just men and women just in general just working together. I think you just need a lot more of. So the things I kind of didn't like about it, I think that it is, very much a tribute to those kind of martial arts films, like, Nick mentioned things like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, things like House of the, Flying Dag, things like Hero with Jet Li in it, very much of that type of Asian cinema. And I think somewhat of that, it's you kind of struggle to find your own identity, and you kind of make your own strides. You're so busy paying homage to these other things. You got to be able to make your own kind of identity there. And I think sometimes it kind of doesn't do that, even though these scenes are impressive. Like we mentioned the bus scene plenty of times, but there's also a scene where they fight outside a building, kind of on these kind of bamboo kind of area. And I thought that was very nice. I think the fight between when Tony Leon meets his wife in the movie, I think is very good. I think that's very effective. That's a very nice action scene. Where the movie kind of for me just kind of really kind of goes down a little bit is when they kind of more they go to China, they go to the fight ring area. Really, people seeing it in the trailer, the cameo of Abomination. Really, there's no real point for Abomination to be there. It's just to say like, oh, hey, that's Abomination. Hey, that's Wong. That's there. That's kind of the only point that's there. And then further down the line of the film, when it comes to the last kind of third act, it does what kind of these Marvel movies do, what we kind of criticized before, what I criticized in Black Widow, what I criticized about Black Panther. It's like, okay, hey, that's nice. You did that cool stuff. Now sit down and watch the big battle. And it's just a CGI fest. And it's like, what the hell is happening? It's CGI bukkake all over the screen and things are happening. And it's just like, what the hell? And then, and then when they go to, the place where there is, they especially use a lot of CGI, which you can tell they're really in front of a green screen. I know a lot of stuff they are in front of a green screen, but you could like really tell in the Pacific place they were, I felt like. And you can just say like, hey, here's a new Disney park that you can go to. Look at it, you know what I mean? Enjoy it. Look at all these beautiful, colorful things. Here's the next Disney park we're going to build for you, just like how we build Wakanda at Disneyland. We're going to also build this place here at Disneyland as well. So I felt like very much like that they were setting that up for that, to marketing, for that, and all these different creatures that they had at this, this place, this magical place. So I was like, okay, this is really, really kind of dipping down there for me. And then that ending was just like, man, you had a really good movie here, the really, really, really good movie, martial arts movie, and you just ruined it with this kind of, CGI bukkake fest that you had.
I don't think the movie's ruined by that, but I did get a little bit of that CG fatigue. But you also have to remember that this movie, the tail end of its production was during COVID. It was like in the initial part of the pandemic.
Yeah. Okay.
I would give it a pass.
Okay, so there's a little bit of that, but maybe ruin is a strong.
There is a little bit of you can feel Mickey in the room. It's like, oh, you gotta make some toys. Oh.
Yeah, toys and everything like that, action figures and all these other stuff that kids would want to buy.
Motherfucking plushies.
And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it felt about Black Panther. It's like, hey, this is a really good movie, but then it's like CGI rhinos and then all this other stuff. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And then it's again.
Yeah, but I think the CG here is a little bit better than it was in the theatrical cut of Black Panther.
Yes, I mean the CGI here
in the cuts that went to theaters. I think it got better as Black Panthers come on like Blu-ray and 4K.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe ruin is a strong word because I still thought it was a solid movie. It just just really, I mean, man, it was going really good. And then Simu Liu, because the reason they got him, because I think it was between him and another guy. Nick, do you know who the other guy was supposed to be? It was like he was in competition.
I think it was like a three-way race between like him, Louis Tan, and Andrew Koji for this role.
Yeah, and the reason they went with him is because he had comedic experience with Kim's Convenience on Netflix. That's the reason they really held. And it's used to great ability here because he's good at very good at comedy. So I think that was pretty good.
Yeah,
But
he has great comedic timing, and he brings so much charm to Shang-Chi that for me it's kind of like on the level of Tom Holland's Peter Parker. He just is so charming in that role.
yeah,
Whenever he's like given a little bit of levity.
yeah. So I still thought it was a strong movie. It's just that ending is just like. Ah man, it's another two big battles, armies fighting each other, and it's like, ugh, okay. But you could have just did something smaller scale and more personal. But overall, I still give it a strong. I give it a light 7 out of 10 for me. Elijah, dislikes, final thoughts, and rating. Then we'll dip into spoilers.
I'll try to speed run through this. Okay, we already beat down Aquafina as much as we could because that was like the main thing.
I can't even get down on her that much, man.
I won't, but like so. So for me, Shang-Chi, great. Sister, motivation. I get that she was abandoned. I agree. The whole plot thing with like I gotta build my own empire. Yes. The aspect of like women shouldn't be in the army, they shouldn't be assassins. Like I totally get that. For her to have to try to make her own empire, that motivation for that kind of came out of nowhere. She's kind of mimicking her dad. I kind of would have thought she would have walked away from that like Shang-Chi did. But
that's kind of that's kind of a thing with Asian families. You kind of get that rebellious kid, and you kind of get the one who ends up following in the footsteps.
Right. So I'll let that be a pass. And when we get the spoilers, I'll complain more about it later. As far as like you said, Josh said earlier, Abomination. I'm a big person for Easter eggs. I love that Easter egg. I feel like he was kind of nerfed. I don't know why. Like, hey, was Wong doing his thing? Hell yeah, Wong's pretty dope. I love Wong because I feel like now that Stan Lee's gone, I think Wong's going to be the character to pop into every single movie. I think they're set him up for that. I will say that I dislike the villains in the movie. I feel like they are on Cobra level, like G.I. Joe Cobra level villains, where they're not threatening. They're bad, but they're not threatening. Their weapons are electrified, but they're not sharp. So I didn't feel it. I'm not saying it should have been like The Raid, where I feel like people are going to bleed. I don't need to be a bloody kung fu film, but I feel like people didn't get hurt as much as they should. They fell off buildings. They got beat up by their dad, and people got propelled 20 yards away, but nobody really. There's no tension. I didn't feel like the characters were under a lot of threat. We knew who was going to survive. Nobody of importance died. Not saying they have to, but I feel like the entire time everybody had their literal dragon plot armor on, so they didn't really get hurt. It didn't move fast. It didn't move fast enough for me. There were dry parts in between getting captured. Not really spoiled, but getting meeting the dad and things like that. I still have issues with Wenwu being mind controlled. They very logical person. But I still disagree with the whole mental thing, and I'm just gonna go with it with no any kind of reasoning. I still have questions about I'll admit I missed the first 5 minutes of this movie. What is this village? Why does he live this long? Full rings abilities we'll get to know in maybe another movie. These creatures, where do they come from? But at the same time, though, I think episode 4 of What If, because I feel like that creature that we saw, if you watch episode 4 of What If, I'm like, okay, maybe it's one of those, not an alien, but it's a mystical creature from another dimension that we kind of get glimpses at in the What If episode. We're like, okay, this is this being power. It is of this, like Shimagorath or any other character, like it's of this importance, can do this things. This, even though they're not from where's Doctor Strange from? The temple that he trained at, even though these people in this village in this dimension aren't from here, it's almost of the same wavelength of what their importance is. I dig that. CG was cool. The way they got there, I was kind of like, oh, the effects were cool, but I'm like, where they got there was kind of like, all right, a cute creature led us the way, da-da-da. They used Bing Kingsley too much.
It's kind of, it was.
Yeah, that's the spoiler. Well, cat's out of the bag.
Well, 10 Rings. My bad. Yeah, that is a spoiler. I'm sorry, but for the most part, it got Dragon Ball Z esh. It got
Yeah.
kaiju battle esh, and I was kind of like, that's a little bit too much for me. I give the movie a 6. There are highlights, but there's still like a lot of questions, especially when they got into the after credit scenes. But that's kind of my feelings about it.
All right. Chill. What's your final thoughts, rating?
Shit. Okay, so see, you seen it today, Jay. So you got it like fresh in your mind. When when did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it last night.
Last night. When did you see it? I'm pointing like I'm really in the room.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Why? Who? Like, how you know who you point to?
You're like pointing.
Yeah.
When did you see it, Elijah?
I saw it last night at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. I saw it last night too. You know what I'm saying. And overall, like I said, I think I really enjoyed myself. I enjoyed myself watching this film. I enjoyed myself thinking about the aspect of just like Black Panther, we got a black ass superhero. Now we got an Asian and do a cool karate. So, like just that whole world and my imagination, my own self, makes me very excited. As watching the movie and everything and just looking through it and just like kind of like into it, yeah, that shit got really slow in the middle, dog. Like right when they were going to like Japan, I mean going to wherever they went to,
Yeah.
and
China.
and yeah, and then it kind of just fucking really fucked me up because looking at that, I'm watching the movie, man. I'm enjoying myself. I am enjoying the fight scenes. The fight scenes is very dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I don't want to say very dope. Not no Kiss of the Dragon dope. That's one of my favorite. But it was dope. And I love that. And Marvel does this all the times. Where I don't know if y'all want to notice this, but they in all the action scenes, not because they saved some fucking body, but it's always scenes in the choreography in that movie, especially on the train when we first see him, where he really starts becoming being Shang-Chi and being like, okay, this is a cold motherfucker right here.
Oh
Because
yeah.
he did something where he jumped across the train and kicked dude and shit like that. So it was like just little things like that that I felt I appreciated him as built as a motherfucker finna get with the Avengers. I appreciate that. As far as the whole movie go, that shit was rushed, dog, and it really fucked me up because at the end of the day, I really just really wanted to see a fucking movie with him and his sister because once his sister just got in there, I just really want to see him and his sister. You could have did a story with him going off and then him with his sister, and they just building their whole shit up, and they gotta come together now for their pops. They pops looking for their fucking ass. Get your ass on home. I know where the fuck you at.
Yeah.
So
It
it's
was
like
kind of to the side,
that would really piss me off with the whole movie getting to that point because that's all I kept saying, and I give it a 5.
A 5. Oh, okay.
Ooh, a 5. Okay.
I don't understand. Y'all throwing out 7s. I'm like, shit, that's pretty high.
I said
I need to see
6.
my
Man.
whole. I'm real.
Man, y'all gonna be mad when I get my rating.
I don't be mad at no. I don't. I'm not mad at the people that. Like I said, you could feel more strongly for the views that I may have, or may what he may have, or whatever, and you get it out of that. But it's just like I just got so pissed off at that point where this could have been a whole different movie, and all the time I'm just imagining this shit could have been better with just him and his fucking sister. We don't need Aquafina. Aquafina, baby, I love you. I love you. I love you 3 times.
She's watching the show right now.
Yeah. So Nicholas, so what was your rating?
So,
Yeah.
all right, so
11.
me, no, me, I do think the movie is a little bit too fast. I think they fall a little bit too hard on the big CG fight ending when I think the movie would have been better served if the story was like smaller scale, if it was more personal. But that being said, I still enjoyed the fuck out of it. I love the choreography. I think the performances from Simu Liu, Aquafina, and Tony Leung, I think they're all spectacular. I liked the little Easter eggs that were giving that little bit of connective tissue to the MCU. And I just cannot wait to see Shang-Chi interact with guys like Captain Bruce Banner or Wong or Doctor Strange. I can't wait to see what they do with this character down the line. Fine. So for me, I was very high on this. I'm giving this like 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
That's fair. I can respect that.
I respect.
And it a lot of that is probably owed to. I recently saw Mortal Kombat, the live action movie, and Snake Eyes, and I was let down hard by both.
Yeah. All right. So,
because I was let down when Cole said I'm from Chicago, Illinois. You know, I messed up. That let me down, man. I am going to Gary, Indiana, bro. Gary, Indiana is terrible, bro.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
All right, so we're gonna move into spoilers here. So just mute us. Yeah, mute us real quick. We're gonna discuss spoilers for maybe like 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, we'll do a quick spoiler discussion, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. All right, ready? 3,
All right.
2, 1. Ben King's in the movie.
Yeah.
Trevor Slattery's back.
Yeah, Trevor Slattery's back. I thought that was kind of a useless cameo. I thought, then he did.
Me too. Me too. And it kind of didn't make sense for Wenwu to not just kill that dude on the spot.
Yes, but I disagree though. I feel like because they have a lot. Because to your point, Nick, you said earlier, like they've been hinting at, and there's been the 10 rings and a lot of Marvel movies. They were on a smaller scale than Hydra because they were in Iron Man 1, Iron Man 3. They popped up in Ant-Man, and that was kind of about it. And so
but given the timeline of the movie when Wenwu was retired, it kind of makes sense that they've more or less gone in the dark.
Yeah.
So like possibly they say the wife died when Shang-Chi was like 7. So that'd be like 2002-ish, because they met in like 1996.
Yep. You're right.
So probably just like getting everything back together 2008 when they pop up again in Iron Man 1.
Yeah. And how'd they explain that? They said that a guy from America mimicked the 10 rings.
Yeah. They say Guy Pearce, which, let's be real, that's exactly what he did. He appropriated the name the Mandarin.
He got white.
They address in the movie as a scene that if they're ever going to drop an F-bomb in a Marvel movie, just say, fucking white people.
Yeah. And also, so there was two post-credit scenes. There's 2 credit scenes that you hear. So the first one is...
The first is a round table of Wong, Captain Marvel, and Bruce Banner, who for some reason is not Professor Hulk. I guess he can control when he changes now. Hopefully he's going to get dressed in She-Hulk. And they're talking about... his arm's still fucked up from Avengers Endgame, from when he did the snap, which, great continuity.
Yeah. And
they don't know what the fuck the 10 rings are. They ruled out, okay, it's not vibranium, it's not alien tech, and it's not any kind of magic that Wong
and
they say that it is a beacon, and they don't know who it's reaching out to. So it's possible, I think it's possible that the 10 rings are going to tie into the Eternal.
That's a good guess, maybe. Yeah, that's probably a good guess. Yeah. Some weapon from the Eternals, or some situation like that. I mean, the energy it did give off when Shang-Chi was using it, did very much look like the way their powers look in the Eternals trailer. If you look at that trailer.
It looked kind of like what we saw in the Eternals trailers. And then it leads into my favorite moment with Wong. It was like, yes, go home, get some rest. Right.
Or
it's some bullshit with one of the Eternals, Shang-Chi daddy from a long time ago, and he just gave bullshit as an anniversary gift. Man, if I find that out, man, I don't want to hear that, man. That's bullshit. And I'm sorry, that was bullshit. That was bullshit.
Cool.
Now y'all just detecting shit. Now y'all detecting everything, huh? Y'all been for 5 years. Now these motherfuckers done ruled over fucking shit. That's what I'm saying, man. I'm sorry. See, you shouldn't have gotten the spoilers. I'm gonna get mad because they giving us shit. They giving us shit. Oh, he went for hundreds of years and just fucking shit up. Fury's been around. Uh, Men in Black been around, goddamn it. All these motherfuckers been around and seen all this shit, but they never seen nothing with Shang-Chi and them. All of a sudden, now for 5 years, they've been tracing shit, looking for the rings, and now all of a sudden, oh, they see some shit in Asia. They never said this shit in Endgame. They giving us too much shit, man. And then also, now you finna give us some Peter Quill shit with fucking Shang-Chi. Because you gotta think about it. What does Mama say? His mama said, we are empowered by gods or some shit like that. You already know she different. Why we ain't getting none of that in the movie? We already know she's different. Shang-Chi is doing shit. He is superhuman. He is not a human. He is superhuman.
Like Star-Lord's dad, because that's
Yes,
confusing because he had these powers, and like I was so confused by that. These powers are very like vague.
Well, I think. Well, if I don't know. I mean, this is me. I guess because his mom had powers, and she only had powers because she was from that place. And then he was training in that place. Then he learned her martial arts, so he learned how to do the powers of the people who was in that place.
Yeah, but that's also a thing that's in just there. It's like an it's like an elevated. It's like a different reality that they operate in.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you like this: sperm don't what you in. Yeah, man. Sperm do not lie. That shit carries over. If she been a part of that, if Matt Murdock go have a baby right now, and with Spider-Man, Mary Jane,
What?
and it's gonna come out.
What? Okay, I don't know. Okay, what the
Oh
fuck?
my
All
God.
right. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Okay, this is going off the rails here.
Damn. Yeah, dude, you're coming in and out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Collect yourself. Take a deep breath.
They do leave a lot of.
Woosah, motherfucker.
Just saying, man. He's flying. I'm telling you, all through the movie, that's all I was thinking. Was like, wait, what is he, man? Let's go back to that. Why his mama say that? Let's go back to that. But no, we never got it. All I got.
Yeah, Elijah.
One of my biggest issues is like, I felt like the soul suckers were weird. The way they described them, the way they talked about them, and how they popped in. I mean, they were threatening. Believe me, that was probably one of the scariest creatures I've ever seen in a Marvel movie. But like the way they describe them and how they're super crazy powerful and they're gonna be sealed by this way, and then the dragon popped out, and the dragon's like a water bender, like all that stuff like that. I'm like, okay, there are elements and powers and abilities in the movie that are very not well.
They're not well established.
They're not well.
They just kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, yeah, that's true. I'd stop accountability a long time ago.
Even the 8 out of 10 I give grudging because I think the first 2 acts of this, I think 9 out of 10. The third act, I think closer to like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Hey,
right.
What was Buddy name in the Blue? They did him bogus.
Blue.
Death Dealer.
Y'all ain't even know.
He went out like shit.
I could like a million arrows all over the place, right? I could have like literally looked at him dying, and then like had it blow in our hands.
Yeah.
And shoot shit. I was like, okay, like he literally kind of trained you, kind of vouched for you. Like he was like the mini mentor for like maybe 2 scenes, but you kind of like, oh shit, he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, she was just kind of looking at him there, frozen, I guess. But I was just kind of like, I mean, do something.
Yeah,
shoot.
But he probably was involved in one of my favorite line of dialogue in the movie when Wu goes to that village and he just like sits him down and is like, "You be very careful when you talk to me, young man."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, damn, that was cold.
Yeah.
Can you explain why he's so old?
Because of the rings.
Oh, they say the 10 rings they gave him immortality.
Yeah, eternal life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do the, yeah.
I guess the last thing I noticed about the movie is like a lot of cool Easter eggs that I feel like we need to bring up now.
Oh yeah, especially in that underground fighting region. See, like you You see a Black Widow fighting an extremist guy. You see.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. I didn't see that. Oh, I missed that. Huh.
The extremes popped up in two things. It popped them in Agents of Shield and it popped up in Iron Man 3, and that was it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I missed that. Huh. I got to go back and look at the movie again. I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw like a Kree fighting in the background. The Skrulls. I think I saw that.
Now, Nick. Now, did you notice the homage they paid to one of my favorite martial arts movies at the end of Shang-Chi when he was fighting that soul sucker? Do you see what he did? His last move?
Oh, fuck. It was like the fucking... I can't remember what it was. I don't remember.
Dude, you cannot tell me he didn't pull a kung fu hustle at the end or the giant...
Oh, shit! I missed that!
Like, killed that thing. I was like, that's the only thing I think of when that last move came out. I was like, that's literally kung fu hustle. That's fucking dope. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still, I just didn't like those cutscenes. I just didn't like them, man. I don't care, man. Why you got all around them?
Yeah, I like the movie, but I think the third act, it gets too large scale for its good. Kind of like how I felt about Black Widow. That I think a smaller scale climax of something more personal, I think it would have been better.
That Wenwu, Shang-Chi, and like a battle of morals, almost on a scale not as CG as the Black Panther and Killmonger fight, but I feel like that would have been enough for an audience to where there's enough tension and stake involved, you know?
Yeah, which we kind of get at the early part of that act. We get that epic fight scene between the two of them, and it does get very personal. And say what you will about when the soul sucker dragon comes out, but that scene where Wenwu gives up the 10 rings, that hit me emotionally.
Yeah.
And again, shows how great an actor Tony Leung is. He conveys all of that emotion and regret with just his eyes.
Yeah.
And I love him so much, but I still feel like the whole mind control, mental manipulation, they didn't say it was the rings, but Josh, like you said, it was grief. But at the same time, though, this monster manipulating you to hear your wife, but at the same time, though, you're not seeing this destruction that happens around you. That part's for me where the villain's so maintained on his goal, but doesn't see the consequences actively around him. And it's not until this creature comes out where he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done.
And it's like in his mind is,
right. Maybe my wife's not in there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was a good discussion about Shang-Chi, everything like that. Got into some spoilers. Had great discussions. I don't know what
I do think it's worth seeing in a theater if you can make sure that you're socially distant, keep your mask on. But otherwise, if you can't in those circumstances, I'd say go ahead and wait for Disney Plus.